Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fangs for the Fantasy, our weekly podcast where we look at urban fantasy in its myriad forms all through our social justice lens. As ever, you have me, Paul, and Renee, who is now looking for her dream of a mermoose. Hello, Renee.
Hello, weirdo.
We all know it's your dream animal in these stories.
Maybe so, but for someone who claims to detest them, you seem to talk about them an awful lot. I think you're in mermaid denial, Paul.
I think if I keep dumping on the shame on the mermaids, then eventually I'll just have more ammunition when the next mermaid book comes up. And every week on a Monday when we get the new books of the week, books being released, and it says, "Oh, let's see what's there." Whenever I see a mermaid book, I look at the blurb and go, "Oh dear, that sounds so terrible, so utterly awful."
Yeah, denial. It's more than a river in Egypt.
Face it, the mermaid is the kiss of death. If there is a mermaid, the crapness lies within.
It's coming. The mermaid is going to be the breakout creature. You watch and see.
Uh-huh. Keep telling yourself that.
It's coming. Well, we should move from mermaids to fantasy. And go ahead.
So, shall we hit Game of Thrones?
Yes, Game of Thrones it is.
I think we've got some interesting dynamics here. Particularly, Cersei is obviously focused on killing her brother, and I don't know if she's focused on killing her brother to an extent that she just doesn't care about anything else, or if she's actually conceded all this ground to the Tyrells simply because she's lost that battle.
No. Did you see the look she was exchanging with Margie? Is that the right name?
Cersei and Marjorie.
Yeah, Marjorie. Did you see the look?
Oh, she wasn't entirely happy.
She knows that the Tyrells are slippery because Joffrey isn't even cold, and there is Marjorie aligning herself with Tommen.
Yep. But, I mean, she seems to be actually going ahead and saying at the wedding herself. Is that because Mance is a judge to kill Tyrion? Because you'll notice she also hit up Oberyn and her own father. So is she just that eager to kill Tyrion? Or is she saying, right, if I don't fight against this, at least I'll have some cards when Tommen inevitably marries Marjorie? I mean, is she doing it to kill Tyrion, or is she doing it because it's the only real chance she has of holding on to any influence at all?
I think that she's always hated Tyrion.
Mm-hmm.
And this is her chance to show power over him. She's always wanted to best him and has never been able to, really, because of his intelligence. And I think this is about Cersei exercising her power, not realizing she's expending her power on the wrong thing. While she's suspicious of the Tyrell, she hasn't honed in on them the way she should.
Because she hates Tyrion so much.
Mm-hmm. That's overwhelming everything.
And the thing is, when you look at it, she's playing nice with all these people who have power over her, and she's not really even acknowledged that. There's Tywin, obviously, is the head of house. Dornish, the Martells have her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyrells are moving in everywhere they get an inch. It's a case of she's finally finding some subtlety back, like she was back in season 1, and some skill and some political acumen, but she's not using it in a way that is particularly useful or going to empower her in any way.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
Yeah. Particularly when you look about the fact she needs to be, with Tywin's big confession of the fact that the Lannisters are effectively Stony Brook.
I mean, he's picked the wrong person to confide in there.
But when you think about it, he's disowned one son, he's banished another.
All he has is Cersei, but it's the wrong child. The person he needs is Tyrion, but he's too proud to admit it.
Yep. And the Lannisters, and in some ways, I think this fits the ongoing theme of this episode, which I do think they've been doing a lot this season with Game of Thrones, is creating episodic themes, is can you told what you've taken? And the Lannisters is the most extreme one, because the Lannisters go back to, obviously, Robb's reign in the first place, when Tywin first married off Cersei to Robert, and then filled his court with Lannister sycophants. And he did that by basically paying for everything with Lannister gold. And now it comes down to, for the last 20 years or however long it's been, the Tywins have held all this power by basically throwing away their gold like water. Can they hold what they've managed to gain? They gained all this power, all this influence, all this presence, and holding it has cost them.
Well, that's the true question. It was all their big saying is a Lannister always pays their debts, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, not what the Iron Bank is thinking at the moment.
Which is why the Tyrells are an important alliance for them.
Because they have wealth and the richest family left in Westeros.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes a point. I think this is a real point throughout this, is you can fight and you can throw everything at a problem and you can win and you can take it. But once you've got it, then what? And I think the Lannisters are really a really powerful display of this.
You still have to rule.
Exactly.
As that little twit across the river learned.
Which is something else I'd really love to see, because Daenerys is saying, yes, I've conquered a city, freed the slaves, la la, next city. Oh, what a fun, I'm on the White Lady Saviour tour. Isn't it such fun? But then realising that you can't just reduce those cities to rubble, leave it behind and expect it to run itself as you would like it to.
Exactly. In a vacuum.
Exactly. And who's going to rise up to power? Well, the ones who'd held the power in Marine and Astroport and Yunkai as in the last few centuries, and her doubts are very real. If Daenerys Targaryen cannot hold 3 cities, how the hell is she going to hold 7 kingdoms?
She's not.
And so it's really brought home. And in some way, for the first time, she's actually showing some level of sense beyond just, oh, look, I have all this power. Because she's turned around and looked and said, well, look, there's no point in me going to Westeros at the moment because absolutely no one's going to back me for the throne.
Mm-hmm. Even though she was told that people would just rise up because Tommen's, has no legal right to the throne.
I mean, with the average, frankly, when it comes down to it, the Lannister children are well known to be illegitimate, incestuous children by now, and no one really cares.
There's only one person who does care, and that's Robert's brother, Stannis.
But even there, Robert's brother Stannis cares because he's rather obsessive about the rules, but also because he is the next legal heir. I mean, it's in his best interest to care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no one else is fixated on it whatsoever.
Exactly.
They're playing the power game.
Everyone's out for their own power. Even Robb Stark, when he was in the game before the unfortunate Stark habit towards blithering stupidity took over, even he was concerned with making the North independent.
Right, because he crowned himself King of the North.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, it's been an interesting thing. It's this idea, can you keep it? And what I find is extra special with all this is this idea of, all right, you've conquered something, can you keep it? Is then to turn around and ask, well, let's look at the prime mover in the game so far and look at Littlefinger. Yeah.
Oh, he's as sneaky as all get out, isn't he?
Isn't he just? He just goes from, we learn more and more about him because he literally set all this in going. He tore the kingdoms apart, gambling the fact that he could pick up the pieces, or he could pull a large number of those pieces to him. And to be fair, he's true. He's right.
Oh, he's done well for himself, except you can tell he's not too pleased with his new wife. I'm going to scream when my husband makes love to me tonight.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think she's the most stable of the Tully sisters. It has to be said.
Oh, she's far from stable. What I want to know is how he didn't get distracted and stop.
He did his duty. Frankly, he didn't get distracted and stop by sitting back and thinking of Catelyn.
Pose. And then poor Sansa. Again.
Again, yeah, Sansa just goes from the fire to the fighter. At least this time she's gone in there and she hasn't gone, oh, Aunt Liza, yes, we're friends. Yeah, she knows. So, oh, Aunt Liza, oh, shit. My dear beloved aunt has been huffing fumes from the mountain again. Great.
Oh, she's out there. You know, but I'm thinking Sansa's too good to put the pieces together of why she's there.
You have to go figure, why is she there? What's happening? I mean, marrying her off to the Lord Robin of Arryn, maybe, but...
No, she's going to figure something different.
Yeah. You have to wait to see what Littlefinger has planned. I mean, I think one thing the show has missed is they haven't really given us Littlefinger's history, which I think they need to do. They need to emphasise the fact that Littlefinger is a son of all but a hedge knight, really. He had absolutely no rank or position at all, and what he's achieved is unthinkable.
Well, they did a little bit when they talked about... I mean, they've talked about him wanting to marry Catelyn and almost dying, and she having to beg for his life but still refusing him. And
I think they missed how very minor he was. I think that was one of the main things.
He's certainly done well for himself.
Mm-hmm.
What a conniving! Oh my lord!
Well, you often wonder, where's this going to go from here?
Well, I think also part of the reason they have to up Littlefinger is because now Joffrey's dead, right? People need somebody to hate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from almost the beginning. Excuse me. Joffrey was the one everyone hated, right?
Yeah.
So with Joffrey dead, people need some place to aim their venom, and now they're giving us Littlefinger.
I don't think that works though, because I mean, he's not pleasant. Don't get me wrong, but I still have this. He's a magnificent bastard. You kind of do think, hey, this guy's actually kind of really good at it. You have to kind of clap and give him his due.
He's not a pure sadist.
Exactly. He's just...
Right? Joffrey was just a sadist. But I think that at the end of the day, we're not really meant to like Littlefinger at all. We're kind of meant to despise him.
Mm-hmm. I think it's because when it comes down to it, he has destroyed everything. He has destroyed the Seven Kingdoms of his plotting just for his own greed, but at the same time, he is so adept at it that it's quite easy to turn around and say, well done, that man. I hate you, but I'm impressed. Sorry?
I was impressed when he learned about him setting up Liza to send the letter.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, how dirty are your hands?
He's involved in everything. Everything he's done, it has all been... Everything that has happened on the show, every bad thing that has torn the Seven Kingdoms apart has been his doing.
Yeah.
Which is, you look and go, wow. You have just destroyed the entire world for the sake of your own greed.
It's a balancing act. You're talking, and you're waiting for him to get caught. You know he's going to get caught.
Well, you've gone very, very quiet.
It's a balancing act. You're waiting for him to get caught. You know he's going to get caught. It's just a matter of when and by whom.
I think what's going to happen is the same thing we've been saying with this theme, with the fact that the Lannisters are overreaching and Daenerys is overreaching. I think Littlefinger's going to overreach, because ultimately he has no friends, his resources are somewhat limited. Yes, he's incredibly intelligent and crafty, but when push comes to shove, if someone turns around and says no, is he going to be able to hold what he's taken? Is he going to remain himself as long? I mean, he's positioned himself in the Eyrie, which is unassailable, but is he going to be able to take over and hold on to the Eyrie, to Harrenhal, to everything else he's been granted?
Well, by moving himself away from the capital, he did himself a favor.
Yeah.
You know, and that'll certainly extend, I think.
I think it's going to be worth seeing where he goes and what happens. What happens from here, and I think he's going to overreach. I think is the most likely thing. Either that, or he's going to unleash his master plan and find Varys behind him saying, "Oh, look, I'm 3 steps ahead." Which I also think is a possibility.
I've missed him this season. He really hasn't had much of a role.
No, I have missed him, but I think that's why he might be about to be unleashed, because Varys was the only one who saw Littlefinger. He warned us. He warned everyone about Littlefinger in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Varys has always known, and they certainly tried to work against him. So it makes me wonder what's going to happen.
Well, I want to see him back because I miss him.
Yes, he was one of the better ones. You do him instead of the North. The North is just kind of dull. I'm tired of the North. And John the Pouty.
But I like the women getting their revenge.
And I also quite like them saying, no, we don't trust you. Sorry. Particularly after we had the Mystical White Lady Liberator show tour, I'm glad to see some people who were rescued, who didn't instantly turn to their rescue and go, "Oh, savior person, thank you." Said, "Yeah, I don't trust you either."
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, thanks and all, but bye-bye.
You're on your own.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's the thing with Game of Thrones. I don't think a lot necessarily happened this week per se, but there was a lot which is keeping me interested and keeping me enthralled. I want to know what happens next. What's going to happen next? What's going to fall apart next? That is the main thing. Nothing's ever stable. And is the Hound's heart broken by Arya adding into the list?
That was funny.
Poor Hound.
Oh, that was funny. I just think it's interesting. First, they gave him a really strong relationship with Sansa, and now he has a strong relationship with Arya.
There's a man who longs to be a father figure. Not that he has it.
Always seems to be with the Stark girls.
Mm-hmm. I think in some ways it's what the Stark girls represent, because even Arya, to a degree, she has a lot of illusions, like the idea that her wonderful sword style will make a difference when she doesn't have armor.
Mm-hmm.
It's this whole thing about the fact she still has the Starkish illusions about life.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it was interesting too because you put that next to not Rob, John.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's in that fight, and he said, "Did you learn to fight in the castle?"
Again, it was this classic Starkish illusions.
There he is fighting with honor, the guy, and he almost died for it because the guy spit in his face, kicked him in his leg. He fought dirty, whereas John was still fighting by these imaginary rules. He still hasn't learned anything, despite all his time with the wildlings.
So ultimately, I think it makes an interesting point about class. The Hound has been at the front of every battle. He's a lord, but he's a second son, and he's never had the heirs of most lords. This guy in the north, this Carl, he was a street rat on the streets of King's Landing.
Mm-hmm.
And even Jaime Lannister had been learning to fight from Bronn. Bronn has again been a brawler. These characters have never had the luxury to play fair, to fight fair, to fight in game situations where everybody plays by the rules and there's honour and there's laws, which is something for the very most privileged at the top of the ladder. And in each case, all these people being exposed to situations where they're they have to fight dirty. In each case, it's a marked lack of privilege. Jon goes from being the noble son in Winterfell to being just a soldier of the Night's Watch, and he's lost a lot of class privilege there. Arya ends up is again just running through the countryside as far as anyone knows, a common garden child. And Jaime Lannister's lost his hand. Each of them have had a marked loss of privilege, and with it, a marked loss of the pretensions they could maintain when they had it.
Exactly. I found that all interesting how that played together. A way of bringing them into the real world. This is how the real people live and think.
Yeah, they all had part of their privilege stripped away quite abruptly. In some ways, in even some ways, I'm looking at Pod as well. I like Pod. Pod and Brienne are an awesome combination. But it comes down to it, we love Pod, we like Pod, but he's an awful squire. Because he's never really had the squire. Because the idea that Tyrion needed a squire was always rather laughable. Because he's never really been the squire has been a vanity rank.
He was more like an official errand boy than anything else.
Yeah, he was a page.
Yeah.
More than a squire.
Exactly. But I am glad Tyrion saved him.
Yeah, I do like him, and I like him and Brienne together as well.
It's a bit of a relief, because Tyrion with what was I gonna say? Brienne with Jaime was having the effect of
washing over.
Yes, sanitizing him.
Yeah. Which we didn't need.
No, we did not need.
Was there anything else on Game of Thrones this week?
Not for me.
In which case, moving rapidly on to the season finale of Resurrection.
I cannot believe they expect me to wait a whole year. What is wrong with these people? You don't do that to people.
It's a lot like what they do in the French one as well. It's a case of, well, you can't stop there.
You're like, really? Oh my goodness.
Oh, that was kind of bitter.
Well, finding out that now Martin is actually a mature returned child.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what the crescent birthmark meant. And the whole time Fred was on the scene, I kept saying, I told you so. I said it from almost the very first episode. This character is a douche.
Yep. Because I knew it. I knew you were awful. I knew you were a bad one. What I loved is everybody throwing it in his face. It's because I love that. I love it. When someone's done something awful, I probably have quite a vicious side to me really with it, but I do look at it and go, when I saw his brother and his sister-in-law just giving him hate looks, say, yeah, you tell him.
Oh,
his daughter, haven't you done enough? So yeah, you tell him.
Lucille slapping him.
Yeah.
I was thinking, hit him again.
Yes.
It's almost as good as the Joffrey Tyrion slap.
It was that kind of satisfaction, like, you deserve that. You deserve that so much.
No, I thought, once not enough. He needs another slap.
Which is a good thing. It's a sign of a good character development, because I think part of it is because for so long we thought he was coming round. We thought he was starting to become a reasonable person rather than just Sheriff Cranky. And then because of his woman dared to turn against him, he's willing to throw them all into internment. Oh, no.
The minute she said that she wasn't going back to him, I thought, this is it. This is over. He's going to just break.
Yeah.
Really, it upset me when Maggie was telling Barbara, this is my dad you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. Not thinking that, you've never seen your parents' relationship. And What about the fact that he went so off the rails, she had to come home to practice medicine? She couldn't practice outside. How come she conveniently forgot that?
I think that's the kind of thing which we often do, though, particularly with our own families. I mean, obviously, all the signs were there, but we've got to remember that her mother is to her effectively a stranger. I mean, she can barely remember her mother, whereas her dad has been there forever, and logic and sense so often goes out the window when it comes to our own parents. And effectively to her, she's had one parent, and the other one who left her, who betrayed her, and then decided when she came back not to come back. And there's a logic there, but the emotion doesn't listen to the logic.
I suppose.
And at the same time, I'm sat there going, no, it's wrong. You know this is wrong. But at the same time, I say, you're wrong, but you're wrong in a very human way.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make her any less wrong, but she's wrong in a way that I can see as wrong. And I think it particularly... because it would end up being problematic with that, but I think part of the thing that actually works around that is that we made that after that it made it really, really clear how wrong he was, and she's saying you've got to talk to him, you've got to confront him, and even while Maggie's saying, well, you don't know what he's like. Well, now we know what he's like.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways, Maggie has been completely validated with her decision not to talk. Sorry, I get the names wrong. If I don't write up a show, I can't get the names right. I cannot.
Barbara, you had me confused for me. Barbara was validated by that.
Yeah, I think she was. I think she was validated by the fact that her daughter saying you need to go talk to Dad, you need to get out with him. Well, this is the outcome. She knew better, but she did it for you, but you were wrong. Frankly, wrong.
In a big way.
And I think that the show made that really abundantly clear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also quite glad that when the military came in, it wasn't instantly a case of the military's here, evil. It's only evil once Sheriff Arsehole got himself knocked in. Because in a crisis like that, the National Guard is what you call him. That's kind of what they're for.
Exactly. You know, but then when he's Fred expressing shock, this is not what we agreed upon. I'm thinking, in what world do you make an agreement with the U.S. military?
Yeah, we didn't agree with this. Oh, I'm sorry. Did we not enter a binding agreement with Sheriff of Arsehole in the middle of nowhere? Well, I say, sorry, boys, U.S. military back off. Sheriff Nobody has said no.
You know, I think what got me about it is he did all of this because Barbara turned him down.
Mm-hmm.
But was more than willing to throw Jacob and Henry and Lucille under the bus like that. Like, that is such a low. And for him to say, well, I can't give you special treatment.
Because you're giving them all special treatment. You're branding them on the basis of one murderer because you're having a hissy fit over your ex-wife.
Well, that's it. He went on to say, well, they're not human because Barbara rejected him.
Yeah, because obviously the real Barbara would never do something like that. That's entirely ego. He has to believe she's a monster because otherwise he has to believe that, you know, he's a really shitty husband.
Well, he is.
Yeah, but this is his get out. Barbara's, I'm not wrong, Barbara's wrong. And this is how I prove it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Just the idea of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, it was, he's not even considering that, you know, she was alive and having an affair. Yeah.
And that was it. That just destroyed everything for him.
It is her. She didn't want you when she was alive.
Exactly. But he can't face that. He cannot face that. His whole identity rejects that.
Well, that's it. Yes. Which again goes to speak to what kind of turd he is.
Mm-hmm. And it's all part of what Resurrection does so well. It's creating these full characters, these full motivations, even when they're unpleasant.
I want to know.
No, you're gonna have to wait a year. A year.
I must know. I very much feel that. I must know.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's killing me.
Yep, it's going to have to be a long delay. I'm wondering where it's going to go and where it's going to go compared to the French one as well. So I'm interested how it will all meet.
Mm. Um, we should probably continue moving unless you have something else to add.
Nope, it was a fascinating season finale. Let's see where it goes from here.
Show one of the best. Can't wait for it to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And slap for it again. Those are my final thoughts on.
I will say I'm quite glad that the inclusion at the end is that Agent Bellamy did become quite an integrated major part of the cast as well, which I was kind of thought he'd get sidelined more than he did.
Yeah.
I was quite impressed by that. I expected Madam. I expected worse, but I suspected worse mainly because I was that cynical.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another one of those. You didn't suck as much as I feared. Which is it says you how much things have trained me. This genre really.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on.
Yes.
Orphan Black.
Felix. Oh, Felix.
Yeah, I have two issues with this show. One of which is Felix, who just why I actually want him to die now, so he can get off this show, so I can turn around and say, yes, this is a great show for LGBT inclusion. Cosima and Delphine are interesting, deep, complex, fascinating characters. I can't say it's a great LGBT show now because I can say that yes, Cosima is awesome, but Felix is offensive outright. He is vile.
You know, here's the thing. I feel like they totally set us up this week because you finally had Felix saying, you know, I have things to do. I had a life before you showed up. I'm thinking it's about time he starts rebelling. What is he rebelling over? Not going to Allison's lousy play. Are you kidding me?
Exactly. I mean, this is remembering that Sarah only showed up. And she said she'd been away for a year. That is the pilot of season 1. Sarah has been away for a year. What did Felix do during that year? Apparently sod all. He had no friends, he had no family, he had no job, he had no career, he had no hobbies. All of it went out the window when Sarah came back, and that's it. Since Sarah came back, he has been all Sarah all the time. And the only break from his all Sarah all the time is when Allison showed up, and then it became Sarah and Allison had to share their gay best friend. And that was it. That is all Felix is about. It's serving Sarah or serving Allison or being the comic relief because, oh, look, gay man, isn't it funny? Hee hee.
It was just right.
And to have this moment where he finally says, I'm sorry, but you have made me drop my life, shred my credit cards, come to the arse end of nowhere with you, and it turns out you've been lying all this time, we're not running away, we're actually going to see one of your exes, who you also lied to me about. Broken,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go back to my... No, he's not going to go back to his life. He's going to go back to Allison's life. So people need me. No, Allison needs you.
It was the most ridiculous.
It was so... It was one of those times when I actually had to stop a show I was watching and walk away because I was so angry by it. That this one chance he had to assert that Felix was an actual person, an actual character with, an actual goals and a life of his own. It turns out, no. He doesn't. He's angry because he has two straight masters who are both driving him in two different directions.
He doesn't actually have a life.
No. He just has people to serve. And he's annoyed because one person he thought needed him doesn't and the other does. No, there's no real redeeming that. It's literally it's reached a point where he needs to go. He needs to be killed off, or he needs to be shipped to another place or something else because there's no fixing this character anymore.
He's just a trope.
And it annoys the hell out of me because if you go to any kind of online discussion about Felix, Bitch Flicks, Mary Sue, and these go, oh, isn't Felix such a wonderful developed character? Why? On what basis?
I think it's about seeing a character who um seeing a character who isn't straight in the mainstream. I think that's
Yeah.
all it is. Because there's certainly nothing to redeem him.
The only thing they got from him is that he is a gay character who's there for more than one episode, which is rare, but is not a strong character. Oh.
Make that argument about Cosima, right? And rightfully so, but not Felix.
Exactly.
You know? They can't even begin to make that about Felix.
Which is why I think in some Felix here is causing such a blight on the show's record and the show's representation. And it'd be better if he wasn't there. It's another one of those inclusion moments where I just no thanks. Just erase, please, or just stick to Cosima. Stick to Cosima. The treatment of gay men on the show is revolting. Just keep us Cosima. Cosima's awesome. I love Cosima. And while her relationship with Delphine isn't flawless, nor any of the clones' relationships, they can't be because they're based on lies, deception, and conflicting loyalties.
Yeah, but you know what? Cosima's deception is no worse than the deception that happened to Sarah. It's no worse than the deception that happened to Allison.
Exactly.
Cosima's nicer about it. She's not using glue. Cosima's using glue guns and torturing her observer.
Exactly. I mean, I think the main thing, if anything, Cosima and Delphine's relationship has small foundation because unlike Allison and Beth and Sarah, well, to a lesser degree of Sarah, and the one we just saw, this Jennifer, their monitors lied to them the whole time. All right, Delphine did, but it seems that at least as far as Cosima's concerned, some of it's out on the table. And Cosima's openly in a relationship with her monitor, who she knows is her monitor. And now it's just a matter of how much is Delphine on Cosima's side.
I don't trust her, though.
I don't. I think there's a good reason not to trust her, but it's still the lack of trust comes down from the monitors and the whole setup of the clones, and it's in generally probably the strongest relationship on the show.
Agreed.
More Cosima. Keep with the Cosima. Even if she autopsied her own clone, which
Yeah, I agree.
That
was creepy.
So more Cosima, more Allison, because I do quite like her imploding.
With the play?
Oh, the play, and just calling Cosima, you have to get out, otherwise you're going to be in a black bag somewhere, and say, okay, Allison.
Well, they're so very different, but you can't help but love them all.
The clones are kind of awesome.
And we have to say it again, Tatiana Maslany, you are a mutant.
Yeah. But this brings us to the other problem I have on this episode. Helena and the creepy unity ceremony to bring her in with the... I mean, I was looking and going, okay, they're going to bring her in, adopt her as one of the cult, and is that a wedding dress? Oh, ew, no, stop, halt.
Well, at that point, everybody was like, bash his head in!
Exactly, so you better be stabbing him. And we don't know if Orphan Black's going to go there next episode, but I'm hoping Elena will throw off the drugs and there will be a gut stabbing.
Oh, something's going to happen. As soon as she comes back to her faculties, those people are in trouble.
Yeah, I'm just really hoping we're not going to have a rape scene first. Because she seems so out of it on drugs, and they were talking about breeding her. So, I don't want it to go there. Please do not go there. There's no need. Just stab. Stabbing good, rape bad.
Yeah. I hope they don't. I really do hope they don't. And I don't, I mean, I really just see Helena coming back and very strongly letting them know what she thinks. And it won't end well. You look at these people with Helena and you think this is not going to end well for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
I say that is one thing. If they do it, there will be revenge.
Hmm. But it would be nice to see a show without all the rapey shit.
Yeah, can we? I mean, particularly since Orphan Black, the way Orphan Black did it in season 1 was a lot of rape by deception going on.
Mhm.
So it'd be nice to move away from that. It would be nice to acknowledge the problematic element of that.
Mhm.
And it'll be nice not to add to it. Is it when you've already melted your ice, it's better not to break dance on it.
Exactly.
So this is, it's something else I'm kind of hoping for. Don't do it, Orphan Black. You've already gone there. You don't need to go there again.
Not again.
We need to probably buzz on a little faster because there's something else we have to cover.
Sure.
Once upon a time, I do believe the redemption train has reached its station.
Yes. And I like it.
I know, it's so awesome. Regina, light magic, Regina the hero, even Regina also overtly acknowledging her past, and Rumpel's. Say, yeah, we have killed people, so this whole, he murdered my son. Well, yeah, but we've kind of done a lot of that.
Yeah.
And it was
like
perfect.
that.
It was the journey, it was the winning, it was the making up for what she's done, it was the acknowledging what she's done.
Mhm.
It was such a perfect scene, and it just made her the hero. She was the hero.
Very much so. And I really liked that she was.
Mm-hmm.
That it wasn't Emma. And they brought her, you get to choose, and she's talking about how things had been hard in her life, and I really liked that.
Mm-hmm. It was just every single part of the redemption was excellent. I even particularly like how she threatened to crush her heart at the end. It was just a reminder that, all right, Regina's good now, but that doesn't mean she's becoming Snow White soggy.
No, she's not. She still remains who she is. Basically, she's saying, I'll do what I have to protect my family, and that's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And even seeing Robin Hood there having her back saying to her, I have your heart. I like that.
I also like that the heart was the thing chosen, because when you look at the symbols of the 4 fairies, innocence was the baby, courage was Charming's sword, wisdom was Rumpelstiltskin's brain, and love, the fairy of love, Glinda's, was Regina's heart. And it had to be Regina's heart specifically. She didn't go around and say, I'll take Snow's heart, or Charming's heart, or Emma's heart. Zelina specifically aimed for Regina's heart.
Mm-hmm.
Which was making a statement there as well, particularly in a statement where Regina's family has constantly been a source of problems, from her motherhood of Henry being constantly rejected to her relationship with her own mother being so toxic. It still made it clear that Regina had this epic power to love.
She just needed to recognize it.
Exactly. And recover from the scars Cora left.
Is what it came down to. The needing to deal with her own past.
Mm-hmm. I don't know whether to be disappointed or acknowledge the realism of Rumpel's final revenge.
I'm not disappointed. I'm actually kind of glad, because I don't think it would have been true to his character had he not gone back and killed her.
Exactly. I know he's trying to be a better person for Belle, but let's face it, the whole curse itself, the whole reason Storybook was created, the whole reason Regina started on this path and learned how to use magic, everything that's happened on this show since the very first second of the first season has been because of Rumpel trying to get his son back. There's no way he was going to let that go.
Couldn't have.
He couldn't.
And reasonably, who would? Honestly.
Well, exactly.
Who would say, I forgive you, you killed my child, and I forgive you? Hell No.
No, there is a limit. And it comes down to it. The only thing I'm going to say sad about is the angst between him and Belle, because I kind of want them to make it now. But yeah, I can still see it. There is a limit, and he's not going to forgive this.
He shouldn't have, though.
No, we shouldn't have. It's completely, and it's all right as well saying Regina saying I'm going to forgive you. We say, well, fair enough, but Zelina has took nothing from anyone but Rumpel. And possibly Mulan, because she fell into a plot hole somewhere and we've never seen her again.
I know, what's up with that?
I mean, I kept waiting for, is she a flying monkey? I don't know, she just fell off the planet.
Again.
Yes. So, who knows, but I thought that this episode did everything we've wanted it to do for so very long. I also kind of like how they cover the Dark One this season as well. It's a case of he's always been behind the scenes manipulating, but in this season it's always been a case of, excuse you, the Dark One is a magical nuke. What are you doing waving your sword around Charming? Don't be silly.
I know, which actually had me giggling.
I loved it. I mean, he didn't even get to kill the flying monkey, which is why I loved it. He didn't get to do anything. He sat there posing dramatically with his sword. It's a case of, really? Really? Are you actually here to do something because you are so surplus to requirements?
You know, and even when like Mary Margaret was in, lying there holding the baby, and he said, "Don't worry, I'll protect you." And I'm just thinking, how?
Yeah, how what are you going to do?
You know, if Robin Hood and his merry men didn't even get to shoot an arrow, how are you going to do something?
It amuses me because he's always like, I draw my sword and I will protect you, but he never has. Because he's so outclassed by the women around him that his posturing is so irrelevant.
It's constant.
But he never learns. Don't worry, I have my sword. Oh dear. I feel sorry for that child. I mean, they looked out with Emma. She managed to dodge most of the charming genes.
Because she wasn't raised by them, that's why.
Yeah, that child has no chance.
You know, they're kind of like the Starks of Storybrooke.
Yeah.
They
only
never
soggier.
Only
so soggier.
But they never learn.
And has not pregnant Mary Margaret been really singularly useless this season?
Well, I think, like I said, the actress Jennifer Goodwin, she was pregnant while this was filming, so they really didn't have much choice. You know, and good on her for having, going that far and being pregnant, but you think that, there's only so much you're willing to do.
Yeah. Though, to be fair, she always was pretty soggy.
This is true. But I don't think as bad as this season. I think it got to me because it was all, it's her hormones.
Yeah, it was always any excuse. Well, I can understand why they've done it. I'm just... We shall see what happens next season if Mary Margaret throws away some of the sogginess. We also still have that ongoing issue of Emma wanting to take Henry back to New York.
Well... her failure to acknowledge that, Killian keeps telling her, well, that wasn't real.
Yeah. And what annoys me is she turned around this episode and accused Killian of manipulating her. So you manipulated that situation to give Henry his memories back. It's a case of, excuse you, you were the one who was actually going to let him continue to live a complete fantasy because of your convenience and preferences. So let's not talk manipulation here.
Exactly.
If anything, Killian forced you to remove the manipulation and allow Henry to make his own informed decision based on who and what he is.
Yeah, you could see that's going to be some upcoming tension, but the idea that she has the right to just scoop Henry up and take him out of Storybook and not even have a discussion with Regina about it.
Yeah. And
shows
sorry, go on.
Shows that while she may think Regina is a bit reformed, she still doesn't acknowledge all the years Regina spent raising Henry, and that Henry is indeed Regina's son, too.
Exactly. It still holds the idea that Emma, at very least, believes she should get the last word. With based on what?
You know, how long has she actually been in Henry's life?
And as well, I mean, Henry grew up in Storybrooke. We saw him have that moment with Archie because these are the people who grew up with. Even if he's not had any friends his own age, he had friends, he had peers, he had grandparents.
Yep.
And he
Why?
knew these people. This is his home.
Why should he be so willing to run away from it?
And not see these people again, these people who matter to him. And that's aside from the fact that as the grandson of Rumpel, the son of Regina, the son of Emma, he's got like endless magic pouring into him.
Mm-hmm.
The chance of him not throwing fireballs by the time he goes through puberty are slim.
It's actually the best place for him to be.
Yep.
I think.
It definitely looks that way. We shall see when the 2-episode finale comes up.
We should briefly talk about the 100.
Yeah, quick whistle stop before the book of the week. The 100.
Okay, I think this show needs to commit.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the deal. It's capable of doing such amazingly touching work. And then it entwines it with angst. It needs to just commit and just let go of the angst. I know it's CW, but it can sell itself without the angst. I do think this week, though, was particularly interesting because we had the question of what kind of person leads
This.
on Earth. And
sorry, go on. Go.
sorry, what kind of person leads on Earth? And then we had on the Ark, Jaha showing exactly what a leader shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
So what type of person does it take to really and truly lead is what I think they were exploring this week.
I think they were, but I also think, unfortunately, CW'd the whole question because it reminded me of like a later episode of Walking Dead. I'm sorry, Clark, sometimes you have to do evil things to lead. And it's a case of, well, not really. And they haven't, on the 100 so far on Earth, they haven't really been challenged in that way. We haven't met much of a moral event horizon. There's not been much in the way of, oh, we must do this terrible thing even though we don't want to. They've not had to execute anyone, though they have done it for funsies.
I think it's a case of Bellamy not wanting to be the only one who's evil.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. I mean, it's always a case of you have to do these to lead. But no, the only time they've had to do something evil has been less because we're forced to and more because Bellamy wants to.
Well, that's why he's trying to sell the needs must.
Yeah, as a justification for what he's done. But ultimately, I don't think he did need any.
That's where this is coming from. I had to kill because look what they did to my family.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And getting Clark, on his side.
And you see, you're just looking and no. I don't think it's. I want Clark to turn around and call him out on that.
I think she's too obsessed. Her idea being, well, I need Finn, so this is okay.
Yeah, and that's another thing as well. There's this whole, I'm sorry we've got to do this for the good of the group. It doesn't work because it has been, no, we've actually got to do this for the hot guy I like. Or, no, we've got to do this because Bellamy is playing Guard My Family Vagina.
Oh my goodness. Can we please stop with the policing of Octavia?
Mm-hmm.
It needs to stop. And now we have people, Bellamy's men policing Octavia.
So everybody must gather around Octavia.
It needs to stop. Really and truly.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you move forward with the book of the week.
The book of the week. The book of the week this week was Night Season by Eileen Wilks, and it's annoying me. What's annoying me is this series, the whole world of the Loopy series, because when the first book started, I actually kind of liked this series. It had an interesting concept, it had some interesting ideas. We had a really good main character in Lily Yu, who had a lot of fascinating concepts I liked. I loved her grandmother.
Okay.
I loved the magic system. I loved the depth and the breadth of the world. I was interested. I was invested. I wanted to go on with this. And now we're in a place where we've got different dimensions left, right, and centre, and dragons, and demons, and gnomes, and magic, and elves, and acts, whatever an act is. And I don't mind this. I mean, I've read lots of books where we go to all kind of foreign parallel realms, fairy realms, demon realms. I'm fine with that. But when I've seen it happen in other books, like Yasmin Gallon's Sisters of the Moon series or Jim Butcher's series, they knew enough to say, right, we're going to go to different realms about book 4. Whereas Eileen Wilks decided to explode her world outwards in every direction in book 2. Because in the second book, Lily Yu plunged into hell and spent half of the book in hell.
Well, she was searching for her man.
Well, and it lost it, because that was the book when we should have been telling us more about the Loopy, their gods, the magic system, not taking us off Earth entirely. And then in book 3, we had the magic blow up, and so everything's changed again. And in book 3 and 4, we also changed the protagonist from Lily to Sinner, who I've not really connected to, and I don't particularly like very much. And I feel this series has no foundation. It is leapt into all these alternate worlds and magics and complicated new creatures and rules and politics and an almost apocalypse with her society crumbling, without giving us a chance to get used to these characters, this world, or how it's supposed to work first. She's gone too fast into the weird. And this book also read like high fantasy. We spent most of the book in the parallel realm of the Edge. And okay, so you're telling me all this world building about the Edge, but I don't know enough about this Earth yet, let alone this parallel realm. And you've brought in a whole cast of mysterious monsters and fairies and creatures, and it's too much. You are bombarding me with information here before I even know where I am or what I'm doing. I'm not connecting to the characters. I'm not getting a chance to connect to anything because just random weirdness happens with each book, which is a shame because the foundation's good. I also think this book utterly failed to sell Sinner, because Sinner is an interesting character. She has class issues in her backstory. She has a lot of non-conforming nature to her. She has a lot of complexity. And she spent this entire book as the MacGuffin with a special magic power to find the special magic thing, because she's a finder, and she has to find an amulet, which is special. So she spends this whole book being passed around from one group to another to help them find this special magic thing, and there's very little Sinner there. She has a relationship with Cullen which is lacking in any conflict, which I'm fine with. I'm actually quite glad to see a romance in urban fantasy where the two parties don't hate each other and jealous or dealing with their issues or deciding I'm just too ugly for you, whatever. I'm actually quite happy to have two people who like each other in a relationship. But because that relationship is flat and the main plot line is linear, it's quite a passive book. The plot happens to everybody. Sinner is just passed from one group of kidnappers to another until she reaches the amulet, and then Deus Ex Machina comes out from nowhere and fixes it. Why are we following Sinner when these people have been the ones doing it all along? It didn't work.
I think it's called filler.
Yeah, it felt very fillerish, but as I said, it's just full of this world building that's irrelevant, and it didn't work. I didn't connect, and it also annoyed me a lot as well because they were moved to this separate world, and when they're in this separate world, the people who want them to find the amulet, leading them towards it, and then they're kidnapped, and then she's all, "Oh, I'm so angry with you kidnappers," with not actually doing anything about it, but she's angry at them. But it's a case of, the previous people who took you to this world also kidnapped you, and absolutely nobody acknowledges this at any point in the books. Which really kind of annoys me, because they were dragged to Edge against their will, because they wanted Sinner's special power. And everyone's kind of like, "Oh, I'm in Edge, right, I'll help you find your amulets," because they're kidnapped. Is anybody actually going to mention this? Kidnapped, kidnapped. There's a problem here. You need... can they say sorry? Sorry, at least? Before you find them their little shiny toy?
Apparently not so much.
And it annoyed me. And it annoys me more because if this book was just crap, I could deal with it being crap. But it has so much potential. The writing's good, unlike the last book, which was flabby in the middle. The whale concept is interesting. There's a lot of interesting elements there, but they're not really explored in favour of, hey, let's introduce gnomes now and giant rhino-tusked people because reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I also kind of hate the sexual politics of these books. Because we were introduced, first of all, to the Lupi, who have low fertility, high lifespans, and only breed with human women. And the idea was that they do not believe in monogamy. They actually consider sexual jealousy to be sinful. It's a terrible thing to feel, sexual jealousy. You are supposed to have multiple partners. And this is Lupi culture. And it has the potential to be interesting to create an entire culture that doesn't include monogamy. And if anything, looks down on monogamy. But then they say, right, all Lupi are also straight men. And it's like, well, that's not sexual politics.
No, not at all.
Say, we're going to create a whole new society about the originalness of straight men having lots of promiscuous sex. Say, well, wow, that's like the only group that's allowed to have promiscuous sex in our society anyway. So that failed dismally. And then when Lily fell in love with Rule, we had the woo-woo mate bond, which suddenly made Rule monogamous. Because, true love, real true love, wouldn't have any of this silly polygamy stuff. And now Cullens decide to marry Cinna. Why? Just because. Never mind centuries of culture saying that they fall in love fine, but they also have multiple partners. No, for real true love, monogamy appears.
That's
I don't like the message. I also don't like the message that the goddess's chosen warrior people, the Lupi, her chosen ones, her special ones, are all inherently male. What is it with werewolves and no women? But they're all inherently male, and every single book, someone will expressly mention how it's impossible for a Lupi not to be heterosexual. And literally, even when it makes no sense at all, someone will mention it. I think they walk around the street. Did I mention, by the way, that all Lupi have to be straight? No gay at all. Why don't they just tattoo no homo on the foreheads of every Lupi and have done with it? But they'll always pretend a gay joke. Haha, they think that Cullen's shacked up with another man, but little do they know she is one of the we're no homos.
Of course.
It's like, why? Why is it even there? Why do you have to have the special supernatural mandatory straightness?
Because you must.
And it just is a case of, you're trying, but you're failing. And the one plus thing I'll say about this is it's at least when we're on Earth, it's very racially diverse. But like the portals seem to be very selective at picking the white people to take with it to Edge. Because Lily didn't come along, and nor did any of the people. I think one person of colour came along, but she was in a coma, so she spent most of the time out of it. The Deus Ex Machina, who appears at the end, is Native American. But since she has the super special woo-woo, I'm not exactly going to praise that.
Always special.
Exactly. I mean, when you need super special woo-woo, Native Americans are like your skeleton key, the Swiss Army knife. Aha! I need special magic. I have a Native American for that. So it's not exactly praiseworthy. It's another one of those ones where I'm sorry, this story could be really good, this book could be really good, this story could be really good. But it's not. And it's annoying because it wouldn't take much to make it really good.
Why are you surprised?
I want it to be good. Ever since I read the first book of this series, I've wanted to love this series. I want to like it. Why won't it let me like it?
I didn't.
It leaves me very, very frustrated and disappointed. I wanted this to be good, and it's not being good. It's just kind of washing around and staying bad.
And then you're going to torture yourself by finishing it.
Yeah, I'm going to read it. I'm going because it could be good. You never know. At one point that we could get a reverse Anita Blake here. Around book 6 or 7, she could suddenly do the opposite of what happened to Laurel K. Hamilton. I mean, in fact, maybe it could mystically transplant the talent that Laurel K. Hamilton dropped and go into Aileen Wilks. And give them, oh, I'm going to make an actual story worth reading.
I think you're a dreamer.
I can cling to this.
Okay, if it makes you happy.
I can cling. And on the plus side, it's like better than the Fae Fever series by Karen Marie Merning. But, yeah. Because that just doesn't have any potential at all. That's just bad. Whereas this could be good, it just isn't yet. Which is disappointing. But we shall see. We will keep reading it, and it will get better.
We shall see. Not holding out much hope, but yeah.
Our book of the week for next week, oh, gods preserve me, is Queen of the Dam by Anne Rice. So I am assuming it's 800 pages long now, but when I read it, it's probably going to feel 2,000 pages.
Oh, suck it up and quit whining.
Well, if there's any consolation, Night Season will look a lot better in retrospect.
It's not that bad.
I read Witching Hour. It's bad.
This was your idea.
You could have warned me.
I should have warned you.
You said you'd read all the Anne Rices. You should have warned me.
I have read all of the Anne Rices.
You have some strange masochistic compulsion.
Every one of them except for her last Wolf Gift book. I have read them all.
She will be reading that soon, so follow our blog to see the next installment of that reviews.
There's no rush on that one.
But yes, our book of the week next week is Queen of the Dam by Anne Rice. We are trying to get through all of Anne Rice's linked series so that when her new book comes out in October, we will be ready to give our full and enjoyable opinion of it.
Yeah. Oh, gee. All right, then. We shall see you next week.
Yeah, other than that, I'll see you all next week, assuming I haven't been locked up because I've gone on a mad axe murdering rampage because I'm sick of Anne Rice.
Such a whiny baby.
Oh, you will be getting emails. You will be getting emails.
I know I'll be getting your whiny emails.
All right, see you all next week, people, where we will continue to follow everything, particularly as all the season finales are coming close. You know where to find us, fangsforfantasy.com, Facebook, Booklikes, Goodreads, Library Thing, Twitter, YouTube, we're everywhere. Just look for Fangs for the Fantasy. And otherwise, I'll see you all next week. Goodbye.